All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the November 4th, 2024 Crest City Council meeting to order at 7 o'clock p.m. I would ask for everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Chris.
Ray Solomon.
Here.
Glenn Conklin.
Present.
Scott Dyke.
Here.
Jennifer Methvin.
Here.
Darrell Jefferson.
Here.
Claudia Gazal.
Here.
Tina Oberlin.
Present.
Mark Zapiti.
Here.
Nate Albert.
Here.
And Joe Kubal.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, you have before you the minutes of the work session held on October 14th, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderman Dyke for the approval of the minutes of the work session held on October 14th, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Zapiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
And Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, you have before you the minutes of the City Council meeting held on October 21st, 2025. Motion would be in order.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin for the approval of the minutes of the City Council meetings of October 21st, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Zapiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
And Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
You have before you the minutes of the special work session held on October 22nd, 2024. Motion would be in order.
So moved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal for the approval of the special work session minutes of October 22nd, 2024. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Zapiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Abstain.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
And Jennifer Methvin.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And finally, you have before you the minutes of the work session held on October 28th, 2024 with the correction.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Gazal, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin.
Wait.
Questions or comments? Roll call.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Zapiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Abstain.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
And Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, I would like to ask council's concurrence to deviate to the second agenda item under the mayor's report. It is a business promotion by Lockport Township High School, District 205 update. We have in the audience Miss Angela Adolph, who is the Director of Development and Foundation for Lockport Township High School, District 205. So we'd like to welcome Angela to the podium for an update in regards to the high schools.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak. Just hoping to come and update every so often, quarterly or at least half yearly, and give you an opportunity to ask questions. If I don't have the answers, I can bring them back and make sure you have them. We believe firmly that the high school is everyone's high school. It's not just for the children that attend, it's for everybody. And in that spirit, I wanted to share just a few things that we have coming up that I wanted to highlight. Everything, of course, is on the website, but I figure it's more fun to come and tell you in person. So I'm just going to list a bunch of things. November 6th, we have our Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. It's a new committee that they're starting to include parents in some of the decisions that are made with our bilingual students. November 7th is also the Day of the Dead open house. Everyone is invited to come and see what the students have done to celebrate that. November 14th is our Step Up Night at Central Campus. It's when 8th grade parents can come, or anyone actually can come and learn all about what is available to you as a student at Central Campus. All of the activities, all of the classes, all of the teachers, everyone is there to answer questions for that event. November 14th is also our National Honor Society induction, where we welcome in new juniors and some seniors into the National Honor Society. It's always a great event. November 18th is the Board of Education meeting. On December 6th, it'll be our 10th annual Veterans Night. If you've never attended, it's very impressive. I know Veterans Day, it happens in November, but we celebrate in December with, at a basketball game where they roll a American flag out across the entire gymnasium. The veterans in attendance are honored with dinner, and everyone's name is called, and it's a really great thing to participate in, so we would welcome you to come to that. Also, December 6th to the 8th, we have our Madrigal Dinners, which is also another fun event that we host at the high school. I believe it's their 22nd year of doing it. So it's a great way to start the Christmas season. In that spirit, we have our holiday band concert on December 12th. On December 16th is another Board of Education meeting. Then we have a holiday choir concert on the 17th. And last year we hosted the Will County Dance Theater. They performed the Nutcracker at East Campus, and they are coming back to do that again. The hope is that we can start a tradition for families in the community to go and see a professional play right here in our own community at significantly reduced cost as it would be as if you went downtown. And as I'm going to round this out, wanted to highlight that the College Board awarded our AP Scholars. And from Crest Hill, you had 18 students that were honored with that distinction. So it's something to be very proud of. We were extraordinarily proud of all of our students, but it's great to see them excel at such high levels. And an AP Scholar is students that earned 3 or more college credits in 1 year. So a lot of our, I think it's a lot of our seniors this year, we have, I want to say it's right around 85% of our seniors are taking AP or dual credit classes, meaning that the majority of our students graduating this year will leave high school with college credit, which is, you know, like a college, not everyone's going to go to college, but at least they have the experience of what it might be like if that's the road they chose to take. So I'm happy to answer questions. You know, we are delighted that Central Campus is open and the students are there. You know, we've had a great kickoff to this year, and we look forward to, you know, all the good stuff that we have coming up. But I'm happy to answer questions or take them back if I don't have the answers.
Questions, comments from City Council?
As far as the Veterans Evening,
Yeah.
I've heard about that the last couple of years. Is there registration or anything that's needed, or just show up?
So they do a registration through kind of like the veterans organizations in the area. I know they work with like the different VFWs and things like that. But so we try really hard to go around and promote the event. If a veteran comes that night, they will be honored. So you don't have to pre-register. The only reason we appreciate it is for food, because they do serve just like a light dinner. So that, again, honoring the veterans. If you've ever been into the East Campus in what we call the Porter Room, there's a whole wall of memorial to anyone that has served that has graduated from Lockport Township High School from the Korean Wars all the way through to currently.
Very nice thing that you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that veterans program at the basketball game is awesome.
It's spectacular. It's not every day you see a flag rolled across the entire gymnasium.
Right.
The kids are really very supportive of it. I think it's a great.
Yeah, Mike Zaworski does a great job with that.
He does.
And
Lots of energy.
if anybody plans on going, it's in between the sophomore and the varsity game.
Yep.
So I would recommend you get there early for parking and for seating, and yeah, it's quite an event.
And it's
Very
really
well
great.
done.
I also wanted to highlight, I worry that people don't know, at Lockport, the high school back in, I want to say the early 50s, created a gold card program for anyone 60 years and older. That if you wanted to get your gold card, you can come to any of the events at the high school for free. There is a fee for some of the things that we do, like games and things like that. But that gold card invites you to come, and it waives all of those fees. We just want people, again, to feel like this is your high school, that it's there for you, not just the 14 through 18-year-olds that hang out there on a daily basis.
Well, I'm sure everybody's glad to have Central back open.
Delighted.
That was a rough year last year, but
Yes.
it all worked out
Yeah.
very well. and it's good to have all the children back at Central in their freshman year.
Back home, I said they felt like they were kind of on vacation with your in-laws, and so it's nice to come back home after that.
Yeah.
My daughter had to go through all that her freshman year.
That's a lot,
So
it was a lot of bus driving.
It was a lot of bus driving,
Yeah.
yeah. She spent most of her time on the bus, but
Yeah.
she's happy this year.
I bet, yeah, the sophomores are delighted.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks, Angela.
Thank you
Appreciate
so much
it.
for having me, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, moving back to the agenda, our city attorney, Mike Stiff. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have several agenda items for you tonight. First would be the ordinance repealing the position of Assistant Director of Public Works and replacing it with the new position of Assistant to the Director of Public Works, and also amending Section 2.50.070 to make clear what departments and personnel report to the Director of Public Works with the creation of the new position. This was discussed at length in previous work sessions. At the last work session, I was asked to provide a legal opinion as to whether this position, once created, would need to be posted both internally or externally. We consulted with John Kelly, and because this is a non-bargained position, it does not need to be posted within the city. I believe Dave Strahl consulted the handbook, and there is no requirement that it be posted within the city per the handbook. I was also asked by Alderman Jefferson, I think he said that he had a question down to either the Secretary of State or the Attorney General or somebody downstate. I was not able to find anything that said that a position, if taxpayer dollars are going to be spent, needs to be posted, so I was unable to find that. I don't know whether you've got an answer back from anybody.
No, we weren't able to come up with any written language. It was just more of an ethical thing.
So with those legal questions answered, the ordinance before you does what I just highlighted. It basically creates it repeals the old position of Assistant Director of Public Works, and then replaces those two sections with the newly created Assistant to the Director of Public Works position, and then cleans up the responsibilities for reporting to the Director of Public Works and what personnel report to the Director. From that, I'll answer any questions, but a motion would be in order if that's still the council's decision.
Motion would be in order.
So moved as presented. She said?
Made the motion.
Oh,
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Methvin, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal, for an ordinance repealing the position of Assistant Director of Public Works as codified in sections 2.50.050 and 2.50.060 of Chapter 2.50, Director of Public Works Department, of Title II Administration and Personnel of the City of Crest Hill Code of Ordinance, and creating the position of Assistant to the Director of Public Works to replace sections 2.50.050 and 2.50.060, and amending sections 2.50.070 to include the newly created position within the supervision of the Director of Public Works. Questions or comments? Roll
I
call.
have a comment, Mayor. Before you take roll call, please. I really would have hoped that we could have separated these two ordinances because, like I stated at the work session, I think that at some point we'll have a need for a Director of Public Works with the, whether it be the water certifications or the other, requirements of that position. So I'm going to be voting against this because it's in one ordinance as opposed to two separate ones.
Okay.
And the question, we're taking away the position of Assistant Director of Public Works and creating a position of Assistant to the Director of Public Works, which I kind of looked at Blaine's old job description and this new job description, and I think think we need to probably separate these two and take them individually. I'll be a no vote as well.
Perhaps we should table this until another work session if there's questions and people need it separated. I don't think we should try to vote on something with all these questions. That's
Right.
my opinion.
I agree with you, Alderwoman. I think we should table it and also maybe take into consideration that we're gonna need to hire someone full-time to take that position of Public Works Director and see how they wanna have that position named or worded or worked or however that would best suit the city, so I'd like to see us table that also.
There is a motion on the table, correct, Chris? Yes. To the motioner in the second, do you rescind it, or would you rather go through with your motion in second?
Well, if we rescind it, how long is it gonna take the process? I mean, Mike is not gonna be here for too long, and with what happened this weekend, I mean, it really tells you that we need somebody there to handle all these disasters. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, was Ada there for like the whole weekend trying to,
We were both working the weekend, yes.
I understand, but you're not gonna be here for too long.
No.
Okay, so do we have a plan B before we start making all these decisions?
I would just rather us table it to the next work session instead of voting it down, which apparently it's going to go.
All right, that's fine.
Is this going to interfere with this poor individual receiving the adequate compensation for the work that she's doing now?
Yes.
Again, I'm all in favor of creating the position, but I'm not sure why we have it in the same ordinance repealing the other one.
Can we just separate them?
Well, in the work sessions, the council wanted to repeal the other ordinance.
I understand, but can you separate them is the question.
I don't know that we can separate them tonight.
Well, if you have to ordinance number, why can't you? I see here many codes.
So, okay, I'm trying to figure out what you want to vote on tonight. Do you want to vote on the creation of the new position without repealing the other one?
I do, yes.
Is that what,
That would be my wish, and that's what I mentioned last week at the work session.
I would be okay with that as well. I just
Well,
want
that,
her to be able
that
to-
requires basically a
the work she's
complete overhaul of the ordinance. If you're comfortable giving me direction as to how to change it, sort of on the cuff here tonight, then I suppose you can vote on it subject to these changes, but these changes are not, it's not like changing a word or changing a section. It's basically reworking this entire ordinance.
If we're gonna do that, then we should table it.
One could always recreate that position.
Well, let's pull it then and we work on it because it's
Okay, we
I
were.
thought this was vetted last Monday night, and pretty much
just
detailed.
straw vote.
Squeaky, but it
And the alderman told you clearly how he wanted last Monday.
But the majority last week were in favor of
No.
it. Okay.
Again, like I mentioned last week at the work session, we're restructuring all these departments. We're talking about changing these positions, and we have all interims at the helm that are making these decisions. I'd rather have the permanent city administrator, permanent public works director structuring their department as opposed to us going back and forth and eliminating positions and creating positions. Again, I'm all in favor of promoting this individual, but I just think we're going about it all wrong.
I'll call
If
my
somebody
motion.
wants to withdraw the motion to
Withdraw the
approve
motion.
this
Withdraw the
ordinance
motion.
as written,
We did.
and somebody wants to make a motion to
I'll make a
approve an
motion to
ordinance.
table it.
Can
have
I,
to do mine first.
can I finish? And somebody wants to make a motion to approve the creation of the position of Assistant Director of Public Works while leaving the current position of, Assistant to the Director of Public Works and leaving Assistant Director of Public Works on the books. The section numbers will change, and if somebody wants to make that motion, then if there's a second, you can vote on that. It's not going to look anything like what's in the packet. can vote on that.
Well, I don't think we should probably do that. I think we should table it and get it cleaned up at the work session, presented at the next meeting. I think that's but I'm just one person.
Rescind motion.
Those are your options. You can do what I suggested, or if the motion has been rescinded, there can be a motion to table it. But that's going to
Motion to table.
require the tabling of everything else.
Motion to table.
Second.
Okay, the motion to approve and second
It's been
was
rescinded.
withdrawn. We have we have a motion to table by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderman Jefferson. Questions or comments?
This will be on the next meeting.
Roll call, please, Chris.
Tony,
So it's
Yeah.
tabled till the next work session.
can we make it with the date, so it doesn't get tabled a month or 2 or 3 from now? We need to table it with the date to go on the agenda for next meeting. Can we,
The 12th, or is there a work session on the 12th?
Two things you could do.
We're tabling, she just wants a vote. She wants a date in there.
Your table should go
To the next work session.
meeting.
No, we want it at the next work
November
session.
11th?
And then, if you want to have a work session to see what documents that are changed, I'll put it on the work session for next Tuesday, the next work session. But the formal vote should be tabled to next city council meeting. Not a work session, because a work session is not an approval process, it's a work session. 'Cause you want to table to the next meeting where you could vote yes or no on it.
But we wanted the topic on the next work session as well.
Okay.
All right, there's a motion and a second to table it until November 12th, Tuesday.
No. Table it to the next city council meeting, which is,
The next
18th.
city council meeting? Okay.
Yeah.
Session, we have to discuss it at the work session. How can we take it to city council meeting? We're gonna be in the same thing. Again,
Robert's
we're
rule.
asking to discuss it the next meeting, which is the work session. We don't discuss subjects at the city council meeting, we could discuss them at the work session. So we'll be
Correct.
next meeting, the 11th.
Let me make my vote a little clearer. I'm moving to table the vote on this or any similar document until the next city council meeting, which will be November 18th. But I want the subject matter and all corresponding documents on our November 12th work session agenda. How's that?
that's clear direction.
Okey dokey.
Is there,
Roll call, Chris?
Did we have a second?
Claudia Gazal. Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6 is the resolution approving the promotion of Ada Martino to the newly created position of Assistant to the Director of Public Works and setting the initial salary for the position. Based on the prior vote, I would recommend then that the same motion and vote be made for this resolution.
Motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Methvin, seconded by Alderman Dyke, to table this issue for discussion on November 12th to be acted upon at the November 18th city council meeting. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
And Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item, number 7, would be the approval of a resolution eliminating the position of Public Works Administrative Assistant, which was previously held, or currently held by Ada Martino. I would recommend the same motion and vote for this item.
I make a motion to table this
Second.
for vote until the November 18th meeting, but put it on the agenda for discussion at the November 12th work session.
We have a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin to table this agenda item until discussion at the November 12th work session to be voted on at the November 18th city council meeting. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Nate Albert.
No.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Messman,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
Item number 8 is an ordinance which amends certain sections of Section 2.40 regarding the building commissioner to make that position consistent with being within the Department of Community and Economic Development and being overseen by the Community and Economic Development Director rather than the Director of Public Works. This was discussed in the previous work session, and the amendments requested by the council have been made, and that version of the ordinance is in your packet. Happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Motion would be in order.
Motion moved as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Methvin, seconded by Alderman Dyke for an ordinance amending sections 2.40.010 and 2.40.020, 2.40.030, and 2.40.040, the duties in chapter of 2.40, Building Commissioner, Zoning Officer of Title II, Administration and Personnel of the City of Crest Hill Code of Ordinances. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Messman,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
No.
Motion carries, ordinance 2002.
And then item number 9 is a similar ordinance to what was just approved. This ordinance amends certain sections of Chapter 2.50 regarding the Department of Public Works, and it basically cleans up and makes similar changes to remove certain duties of the Director of Public Works that actually belong within the Department of Community and Economic Development, and to remove the supervision of those positions by the Director of Public Works. This too was discussed at last week's work session. The requested changes were made and is in the packet as amended. Happy to answer any questions.
Motion would be in order.
So moved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alderwoman Methvin, seconded by Alderperson Oberlin for an ordinance amending sections 2.50.010, Department of Public Works, 2.50.030, Director of Public Works duties, and 2.50.090, Director of City Services duties of Chapter 2.50, Director of Public Works Department of Title II, Administration and Personnel of the City of Crest Hill Code of Ordinances. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Messman,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert,
No.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Motion carries, ordinance 2003.
All right, with that, I have no further agenda items, but any other questions that you might have, I'll be happy to try to field them.
Any questions of City Attorney?
I have a question. I don't know, maybe you can't answer this, Mike. I might be asking the wrong person. I mean, we're bringing forth a lot of things to be changed, and we don't have a permanent person in place in these positions, and no reason for these changes has ever been explained to me. I don't know if any other council members had any explanation. So I'm trying to ascertain why, and what's the rush? I mean, I don't see any fiscal reason or logical reason for the changes. I might be asking the wrong person asking you, but I can wait until we get to the city administrative report.
I can take a stab at it. It's my understanding that with these last two ordinances, with the previous ordinance that was tabled along with the two resolutions, the idea was to clean these up to make them consistent with the current practice. So our ordinance currently reads that the Director of Public Works supervises your building commissioner and your building inspector. When you created the position or amended the position of Community and Economic Development Director, the practice has been to have those people supervised by the Economic Development Director, in this case, Ron Menser. So those changes began once this discussion was taking place about doing these, I guess, tweaks to the Public Works Department by eliminating the one position, creating the new position, and then promoting Ada. That discussion generated a discussion with Ron Menser, your interim Community Economic Development Director, to say that these other things needed to be changed to make them, they're like a cleanup. And so that's why I phrased them as a cleanup. So that's how that got generated. It came to me with the direction to go ahead and make the ordinances to reflect those changes. And then I thought we discussed that at the work session, where that came from and what they were designed to do. It was Ron Menser's red line changes to the ordinances that have been implemented. With respect to the restructuring of the Public Works Department, that, and I'll let Mike speak for himself, but my understanding is that Mike, after being here almost a year, assessed the strengths of the personnel in the department, the fact that we don't have currently an assistant to the Director of Public Works, but we have an administrative assistant who is doing a lot of those duties and has been competently doing those. So I believe that that's where that change came from, as a suggestion to reward somebody who's been basically carrying her own job and then some, and creating a position to accomplish that. And then I guess Councilman Albert's problem is that along with that discussion, there was a discussion to actually eliminate the old position instead of leaving it on the books. And that's what and I don't want to speak for all these people that are actually here, but I think that's what Nate's issue was, that leave it on the books. You may need it later. Don't eliminate it now and then have to bring it back. So I think that's kind of how we got to this point. And I'll let anybody else weigh in if there's something that I missed or that I've misspoken, but I
No,
think
that's
that's
exactly
where
right,
the
Mike. I
genesis
think we
was.
discussed this in the closed session a couple of weeks ago and discussed the reasons why we wanted to do what we wanted to do in the Department of Public Works. I believe we discussed it amongst everybody that was here and had an agreement at that time. So I'm kind of at a loss right now why this is a surprise. But you hit it correctly, Mike.
No, it's not a surprise. It's the why.
Well, we discussed it in closed
Right,
session.
no.
We had the
You all
why, we had the
discussed
what.
it, but no one ever said why this is necessary. It's just a restructuring. And a restructuring doesn't make any sense if it's not gonna solve any of the current issues. And based on the water boil, nothing has been solved. So that's my why.
Alderman, you're referring to this last ordinance,
I'm
correct?
referring
You're not
to-
referring to the Public Works in Ada, because that we discussed at length.
Yeah,
Are you referring to this one,
I'm
to?
talking about the whole thing. That included, all of it.
Well, that was
It's just-
explained to us very clearly.
It was explained the way that somebody wanted to explain it. It wasn't explained to a point of the necessariness of it being done. So you could tell me anything, but you have to explain to me why you're trying to sell me on what you're trying to sell me.
My understanding is that they were doing it to align with the practices that were already happening, and that this is the ordinance to align us with what we were already doing as common practice.
Yeah, that's what we're being told, but the fire over at the salvage yard showed something different. It's still a lack of knowledge and ability that went on there because it, you know,
With the Department of Public Works, there was a lack of knowledge or ability regarding the fire at the salvage yard? I'd love to discuss that.
yeah.
Let's
Because-
discuss it.
Because we.
What did we do wrong?
Why wasn't the decision made to go and pump water from the river based on some
First
type of
off,
emergency
am I the
management?
chief of the Lockport Fire Department?
You don't have to
We
be.
talked to the Lockport Fire Department and we asked him to change direction and they did.
After
What do you mean after?
our residents had to go into a water boil.
No. No, it was
But what,
before
what
that.
caused the water boil?
Hang on, I'm gonna stop.
Why was
this.
my phone blowing up
Alderman.
because of a water boil?
I'm gonna stop this discussion right now. We're gonna go more in depth with this real soon during this meeting. Fair enough?
So be it.
All right. Thanks for your report, Mike. All right, we'll move on to our city administrator, Tony Graff. Tony?
You guys always, you all receive a copy via email of the administrator's report. The reforestation program has been in place here, working with residents and Public Works to replace trees that are either knocked down or tore down or the wind. So there was 20 homeowners that filled out an application, paid $157.50. This program is a 50-50 program, so the city picks up the other half. Field Nursery provided the trees and installation. So for $315 total, half it paid by the resident, half paid by the city, we got 20 new trees planted on different sections of the community. The city center facility, we finally passed our elevator telephone emergency system test. I witnessed it. They both work. We were able to also identify location. And at this point in time, that's the last part of the test that we needed to complete for the state fire marshal to certify our elevators. The glass, we are having a real difficult problem getting vendors and previous vendors. So I've had Don Seaman, we're gonna reach out and I think we're gonna prepare, well, I know we're gonna prepare an RFP, and that way we'll advertise it and we'll see what bids we receive. Because we're not getting vendors that are walking in here to look at it, or if they have walked in and looked at it, they don't wanna mess with the system. So I think it's time that we're just going to go to an RFP to get it fixed. The Water Commission, the budget's being reviewed by staff and the advisory committee. Hopefully we'll be able to provide you an updated, revised budget for next year, staying within the parameters that the commission has asked for. No increases at this point in time. We did get a bid opening, but I don't think it's been reviewed yet, but it was under the engineer's estimate. Now, it's a really large bid, so there's a lot of work they gotta do to check it out to make sure that the bid is valid and you're gonna be able to perform. Ron, am I right on track with that yet? 'Cause I know
No, you're fine. Yeah, the engineering estimate for the project was around $45 million. The low bid came in at 31.3. So as Tony said, currently Stantec is reviewing the bids to make sure they're proper, and then it'll go to the next step, which should be a recommendation for award. This is the very first contract for the Grand Prairie Water Commission. It's actually all the city of Chicago work, where we're putting a new pit and well in and tying into the deep tunnel. So starting off at a good step here, at least with contract one. Let's see how the remaining contracts follow.
Thank you, Ron. Stateville, I had no report until about 4:30 this afternoon. I'll pass it out. The Capital Development Board has put together a bid, working with the Illinois Department of Corrections, and the bid is asking for qualified construction management and owners registration representative team This is the first part of the process. It's pretty nice explained here. And the good thing about it, it does have a what. Still $900 million is the budget. We're looking at a 1,500 single-cell, multi-security level minimum, medium, and maximum facilities. One for men and one for women. So it'll be 3,000, up to 3,000 prisoners this is going to be built for. They will focus on providing therapeutic spaces with programming, medical, mental health, dietary, recreational services that better support the rehabilitation and reintegration of individuals into their communities. So the deadline to, looks like November 19th is where they're seeking proposals for the role. And then they have, looks like they'll have a pre-qualifier on December 16th. So there seems to be some positive movement, and we'll keep you informed as this process keeps moving forward. Lockport Township Fire District Training Facility proposal.
Tony, I have a quick question for you on that. The last speech you just went over about the new facility at the Department of Corrections. It has the who, what, when, why, and how. Does it have the where? Do they say where exactly they will be building those two buildings?
Good question.
'Cause they have a lot of property there, as we know.
Oh, the location where they're gonna build the buildings? No, we haven't seen that architectural concept yet. They were focusing on the middle portion of the property, up to, I would say, Oakland would probably be the southern portion, where the entrance might be, and then go down Caton Farm Road and going north, just probably east of the pond that's out here now, and then taking that north up to Division. What we haven't seen that design yet, they sort of squared that out, which does preserve the 200-acre surplus site, and that was one of their goals, is to try to not impede into that 200-acre site, so we could have future discussion with possibly having that for economic development.
So what you're saying is that they're saying two new facilities?
Yes.
Men's and
Will it
women's.
be on the same footprint roughly as the current buildings, or is it gonna be further west?
It's gonna be further west.
Okay.
Yeah, inside the walls is it's gonna be very difficult, they said, with a lot of the infrastructure that's there and the unknowns that they have with environmentals. So we've always had a position, I think I've heard it from the council too, is if they're gonna leave the walls and leave the prison the way it is, we gotta have a major discussion with that, because hopefully they got a demolition plan, how they clean that up. Because it's not gonna look, they're gonna build a beautiful facility, they're gonna have, like the old Joliet prison, it's gonna look really bad. So they're not said if they're gonna tear it down or not tear it down, they said we just need more information before they make that decision.
What was the old population of the prison at its, before they moved prisoners?
Well, there were just about 500 when they started moving the original prisoners 6-7 months ago. There were about 900,
Oh, okay.
and they still have about 1,100 or 1,300 in the NRC, the Readiness Center there. I think they're up to about, well, we were told the other day it was around 1,300 population they have there. So that'll still stay.
Capacity was?
No, how many we had, because you said this one is going to be built to house up to 3,000. That's raising our population.
Two 1,500s, and I believe Logan's still considered a site.
Yes. So, probably the peak from people that historians tell me, we had about 4,000 prisoners in the peak when the thing was operating in the 60s and 70s. Pardon me?
At one time, we had 4,000 inmates in there without the RNC Center.
Right, you're right.
Now, the question is this gonna be, according to this, it looks like it's gonna be all single occupancy cells? Is that the commitment?
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony, I understand the state, they're gonna do what they want, but since they're gonna be in our city, and I understand, do we have any say? Can we find a way that we can get our opinion as well? Or some
They-
suggestions and what's gonna benefit us as a city as well?
Walkthroughs as they
A
progress.
walkthrough,
They've
footprint,
committed
as
to-
I've requested before?
They've committed with, to talk to us and work with us on, once they get to a design level. So I'm gonna take that commitment that one day we're gonna have a meeting here, and they're gonna show us their options. And that's what we've always asked, and they've always said they want the community input and feedback, so.
But at the end of the day, you can't dictate.
I understand
do
that,
whatever they
but
want,
it doesn't
yeah.
hurt to.
Get them to listen, and you can give them
It doesn't hurt to
feedback.
ask and to request nicely.
Yes,
And so far, they've committed to it, so let's hope they
Yeah.
follow through.
As long as they continue with the flow of information, I think that's gonna put a lot of us at ease.
we'll keep you updated. And that's from this came directly from our lobbyist, Josh, so he's out there working, trying to find out things for us, so. Well, we got the fire district, we're waiting for the traffic study before we move forward. The job announcements, Public Works Director, and executive session, we'll talk about, we do have a candidate, I'm gonna ask you guys to interview. We'll work that out with a date and time. Very viable candidate from staff's recommendation. Creative Development Director, we had the reconsideration applicant. We had a nice interview with that gentleman, and we'll talk about that in executive session. This was one of the 4 that you interviewed the very first time. Finance Director, tonight we got a vote. Our new finance director's right in the corner there, and Glenn Gerke. So if everything goes well there, we got 1 interim off the chart. Building Inspector, they did 4 interviews, and they got 1 candidate they're gonna wanna recommend. We'll talk about that candidate. I'll pass out the resume for that position. So, water meter replacement, we're still just knocking on doors, making calls. And we're not really gaining too much on it, but I think it's the way it's gonna go, 2, 3, 4 at a time. Places for eating, our hearing is coming up on the 20th of November, of businesses that we cited for failure to pay. That's 5 of them, and we're monitoring that. West Sanitary Sewer Treatment Plant, nothing really to report. It's out of budget or construction-wise. Planning Commission, we got the iPads in. They're being programmed, and the plan is to do a training with the Planning Commission members. And the Crime Lab, I think we're still looking at them. Ron, are we still on for next Tuesday for the Crime Lab, the concept yet?
Ron M. was working on that.
Oh, that's
not
right,
me.
wrong Ron, sorry.
Yep.
Ron's he's caring for his spouse that had some medical procedure, so. I'll send you an email to guarantee we're gonna have a concept plan to show you next Tuesday.
Okay. Tony, on the state bill, water bill, has that been remedied?
It hasn't dropped much, but if you remember, they just got rid of the last prisoners on the 30th. They didn't move in out of those last 400. About 100 of them went over to the readiness center. The rest either got released or sent someplace else. But the facility is still operating. The medical facilities inside the walls, the recreational facility, they got some administrative still going. We only noticed, I think it was about 20 to 25,000. The bill was down from the August to September. So sort of fits where we're at. We're thinking it's gonna be about a 5% decrease for now. But I'll tell you, we'll get a spreadsheet started, start tracking it, and we'll just add that to the report so we can see how much water's being deducted. Now that everybody's out of there, they're probably gonna start turning off some of the valves, and we know some of those valves are leaking. So we could see a drop once they start doing that type of work.
Okay, thank you.
same note, will there be any notification to the community if they have to do special mitigation for things like asbestos, mold?
Oh, yeah. Any construction, they still gotta follow all the rules. And any mitigation plan will have to be a hearing
Okay,
on the state side, not our side.
okay.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Tony.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to a Public Works Department, Mike Ulitz, but before Mike goes, I'm gonna make some opening comments here. It was a rough weekend, but I will tell you that the good news is that nobody was injured, and there could have been some injuries or fatalities during that fire, but nobody was injured. I will say that the Lockport Township Fire Protection District did an outstanding job in fighting that fire. Most of them go on for days, and they were able to put that out in about 20 hours. There were about 25 fire trucks on scene, possibly more, coming as far as Kendall County for mutual aid. Our Public Works Department worked nonstop from Friday morning all the way through today, fixing the water main breaks and all the other things that were involved. I want to thank them for their dedication and service to the city, because a lot of them went without sleep over the weekend. I will tell you that it's not over yet. Hopefully soon. It could have been much worse. There were a lot of misconceptions and miscommunications that were out there. But I will say that from the beginning, early afternoon, Mike Ulitz from our Public Works, Ed Clark from our Police Chief, and Tony Graff were in communication with the fire department and working through what was going on there. Later in the afternoon, I was brought on board, and all of us were in contact with Fire Chief John O'Connor and what was happening and the problems that we were seeing that were being produced from the massive fire that was on that site and what we were doing to help rectify it. So I would say that everybody over the entire weekend was involved from this city in regards to what was happening and how the process was trying to be rectified. Now, we spoke to the fire chief this morning, and we asked him to be here tonight, but unfortunately he's out of town today, so he could not be here. But he did send us about 3 o'clock a statement that he asked that I read to all of the residents in the city of Crest Hill. Because again, there are a lot of misconceptions of why and how and what happened. So I'm going to read the letter the fire chief sent to us this afternoon. And this is from John O'Connor, the Lockport Township Fire Protection District Chief. I would like to briefly follow up from our discussion earlier regarding the specifics of the GenStar fire, addressing some of the concerns from Crest Hill residents. The property affected is an unincorporated Joliet Township, owned by the Sheffield Steel and operated by B.L. Duke. The affected area was approximately the dimension of an acre and up to 50 feet tall in some areas, full of scrap, metal, and plastics. That is an incredible fire load, which generates heat up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This requires an enormous amount of water to keep the fire in check. For the first 9 hours of the fire, we had 3 master stream devices spraying up to 6,000 gallons per minute. And it wasn't enough to put the fire out. One master stream device was from engine number 1, who used a hydrant on the west side of the property, which we believe was part of the Joliet water system. Citgo had the second master stream drafting from the Des Plaines River feeding the foam operations. The third master stream was the tender shuttle with a fill site at the 1600 block of Hickory Street that was used to feed tower number 6. This was continued until 9:00 p.m., at which time we discontinued the tender operations and reduced the 2 master stream devices, engine 1 on the Joliet hydrants and tower 6 drafting from the Des Plaines River. Fire companies worked through the night and into the next day, 21 hours. And if we were not able to tear the pile apart with heavy equipment from BL Duke, the fire would still be burning. With full understanding, it was a scrap pile. If we left the fire burn unchecked, a fire load of that size generating that extreme heat could catch everything on fire in that area east of Route 53, not to mention the longer the fire burns, the more water is used, the more dollar lost to the community, and the more byproducts of the fire are pumped into the atmosphere. We were in contact with the City of Crest Hill leadership, Crest Hill Water Department, and the City of Joliet for the duration of the incident and had contingencies for additional incidences anywhere in our fire district. We are grateful for our mutual aid partners who backfilled our stations with equipment and personnel, and we're very aware of the water supply situation. We are also appreciative of Westcom Dispatch for their assistance and the hard work of the Crest Hill Water Department, who are handling their own crisis while understanding the severity of the fire on Genstar Lane. I understand and appreciate the concerns of the residents of Crest Hill of how a fire not within the borders of the city affected the water system in a serious way. These severe situations do not happen every day, and in these times, we rely on one another to mitigate the problem as soon as possible. My staff will be happy to sit down with City Administration next week to discuss further. Thanks again for your support, cooperation, and leadership. Sincerely, John O'Connor, Fire Chief. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Mike Ulitz, and he's going to go more in depth in regards to the water breaks that we had and the reason that we had them, from what was happening with all of those different fire trucks throughout the day. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. The filling of the tanks of the fire department trucks in itself did not create a problem for the City of Crest Hill water supply. What created the problems were the water main breaks that happened after this. As you may or may not know, when you turn a fire hydrant on and off, one time, several times, however many times, you run the risk of breaking a water main somewhere in your system. And this is what happened. We suffered 3 water main breaks Friday night, which were discussed with the Lockport Township Fire Department. We told them we were having issues with our water, and we asked them if they could redirect, which they did. We fixed those water main breaks Friday, probably early Saturday morning. And later Saturday morning, like around 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, we were notified of another droppage in pressure. This was due to another water main break, which we are currently still fixing. We have stabilized it, and the pressure is back up. It was back up Saturday afternoon, but our pressure dropped below 20 PSI. When that happens, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency requires you to put it on a boil order. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the water, but that is a requirement from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, and we complied with that and put a boil order out. The boil order is, unfortunately, still in effect and will remain in effect until the EPA is satisfied that we have corrected the situation and have sampled the water. I anticipate no issues with the sampling of the water. I anticipate full and good results once that is accomplished. When that is accomplished, the boil order will be rescinded, and every resident will be notified via the same way we notified them that the boil order was in place in the first time. Facebook, reverse 911, city website. The work that is ongoing right now is a 8-inch water main that runs underneath the Rock Run Creek that is in front of the old City Hall. This water main was over 16 feet deep because it went underneath the creek. We do not have the equipment in-house to fix that. We needed to contact and coordinate with an outside contractor, which we did Saturday. afternoon, and evening. He was able to stabilize it. We were able to turn valves and stabilize the water system. The pressure came back up early, about 10:30 Saturday morning. So for a time of a couple hours, we were below our 20 PSI pressure, thus the boil order. Our pressure is fine. Everyone has water. We are continuing to remedy that situation where the water main was underneath the concrete culvert on Rock Run Creek. It was encased in concrete. You don't do that nowadays. That was probably common practice back in the 40s when that water main was put in. We are remedying that situation. Hopefully that should be remedied tomorrow. The contractor, to my knowledge, is still out there working tonight. I have not been notified otherwise. And we are putting in some vaults. Because it is 16 feet deep, we're putting in valve vaults that a man can climb down and turn the water on and off on that valve. It's not feasible to have something 16 feet deep. The soil will move the vault and you won't be able to turn it on and off. Luckily, we were able to turn it off and avoided that situation. Like I said, we're hoping to have this completed sometime tomorrow and be able to sample, get positive results, good results, which I fully anticipate getting, and we'll be able to lift the boil order as soon as we get those positive results from our testing agency.
Mike, the other breaks that we had, were they also on really old lines?
Well, in the business, you would say a line that was built in 1950 is relatively new.
Oh,
So, but you and I would call that an old line.
yeah,
As we all know, it was on the low side. We have a high side and a low side. It's basically divided by Caton Farm Road. The low side is older than the higher side people who live north of Caton Farm. And so there is a higher chance of those water mains breaking because of this. It's unfortunate, but it happened, and it's,
well, it's not anything you could have prevented, I understand that. I appreciate everything you and your department did and the firemen did. These are almost what you would, they're acts of God, you can't control fire. However, I did have a couple of residents call me, and I'm not sure who is in charge of doing this, but they said that they had seen nothing else publicized or sent out to them saying that the boil order was still in effect, and a lot of the elderly people don't look at Facebook and all these other social media sites. So is there perhaps a way we can have maybe a daily update until this is fixed?
It's on Facebook.
we did do an update this morning on that, saying that the boil order was still in effect.
Did you do it through the calls?
The reverse 911? No, you, okay, so the
See,
issue
that's
with,
what I understand.
let me just explain what the
Yeah.
reverse 911, it only works if you sign up for the emergency. And unfortunately, not everybody has or is able to sign up to that. So we're kind of, we're notifying people as best we can. Every social media
Right.
site we can use, and the reverse 911. We're gonna notify them that's how the water is back on, or that's how the boil order is rescinded. It won't reach everyone, but that's.
No, and I understand, but there were people calling me that don't have Facebook, that don't go on social media, and I
But it's
said,
also on the city website, if they
Was-
can.
well,
I also did happen to see it on a couple of the news outlets. Not an update, but when it initially happened. What happened to the door hangers?
There's not enough manpower, I asked for that.
Well, we don't have the personnel to go out and hang
Yeah.
door
no,
hangers on someone.
I would just
Requested
appreciate
that.
if we, as I was saying, perhaps we could do another reverse 911 and let people know. I understand it's just another avenue, but I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't get calls about it. I mean, I knew it was still in effect. I understood that, but they didn't.
We can certainly do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I would appreciate it,
Sure.
because you don't want any resident, and, they're nervous about it,
Yeah.
even though, like you said, it's probably okay, but I understand the EPA, God, do I hear about the EPA at home? So, if we could arrange that, and perhaps every day until, I don't know if this is a cost thing, doing this calls, does it cost us anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
If we could do it every day until the day that it's remedied, and then say it's remedied, just as another avenue to people who aren't on social media, who aren't on Facebook or the city website, so they're made aware of it as well. We want to be as transparent and as knowledgeable as we possibly can for our residents, because they don't know exactly what's going on either, but we want to keep them as informed as we possibly can.
Yeah, we're gonna be giving an update at WJOL tomorrow. Did you get that scheduled yet, Mike?
Yeah, I'll be on WJOL tomorrow morning to talk about it.
Mike, I have a couple questions for you. Before anything, I want to thank you because I reached out to you since Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. I want to really thank you and all your staff and Ada and the fire department, the police department, everybody. I know they have gone above and beyond to do what they can do. We have been in communication constantly. I feel like I'm the communicator here, making phone calls, and I have talked to our interim city administrator as well a few times about posting information. But I do have a couple questions for you. Did Joliet suffer the same thing as Crest Hill? Are you aware of that?
I have heard that Joliet put a boiler out as well for some other areas.
Did they suffer the same amount as us, do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay. Did they have any water main breaks?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. I just want to touch a little bit. I understand when there's tragedies like that, you know, emergency comes first, and we're all supposed to help each other as municipalities. The part that I understand is why, as Alderman Jefferson mentioned earlier, and a couple residents also on social media, which is a good question, why they only or they tapped into our fire hydrant before they went to resources of getting water from the river instead of putting us in this situation.
I don't want to
That's
speak.
like number one question, but I have several more.
Okay, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't know that they have the capability to go to the river. They used a contractor, I believe, correct, to bring a barge down to come from the river.
They call them Sitco.
Right, from Citgo. I don't know that they have that ability.
My understanding, they end up getting water in the end from the river.
They did,
Okay.
yeah, but they brought in a different thing. They
Okay,
brought in
so-
Citgo to help them
So
with
basically, Crest Hill pretty much pay the price for what we're having, our resident, our taxpayer, because right now with the amount of paying all the water main breaks and overtime and what we put our residents into, is anyone aware if we're gonna get any resources, any money into this?
We have
Back from all
discussed-
these municipalities like Joliet, Lockport Township, since this is an unincorporated, correct?
I'm sorry,
It was an unincorporated area, correct?
correct?
Is anyone aware if we're gonna get any money or any reimbursement from them?
I think this is a discussion that we've had ongoing today regarding the insurance company for the BL Duke, that we will definitely,
Okay,
again, we'll be working with Mike on trying to get reimbursement for some of our costs, yes,
I hope so.
yes.
The other thing is, when we were putting the digital signs, if I recall, it was very clearly we said we were going to use them for emergency as well. And I didn't see any information on these digital signs. Not everyone has Facebook. Not everyone has the emergency. I'm the one that brought it up a couple months ago why we're not using the alert service, which we started using. Thank you everyone for using that again. But not everyone is signed up. I'm constantly posting on Facebook information to the resident to sign up with this alert. I understand the door hangers, as we requested, because we don't have manpower. They were busy trying to take care of the water main breaks. Also, in a situation like that, if we have a plan as a city, we will not be where we at. We have to have an emergency plan. In the emergency plan, we should get those trucks that they have those digital things, put them on the corners, and notify your resident of what's happening. Water, you need to boil your water. What happened to the safety of the resident? You should go out of our ways to notify the resident. And that's what I'm complaining about. This has nothing to do with you, Mike, nothing. This is from the leadership right here. The administration and the mayor, they're supposed to go out of their way to do what they need to do. Because I reached out to you, Tony, many times, and I reached out to you again today at noon, because when the resident kept calling me, they wanted water bowls. And we should inform them in a tragedy like that, the only way you can get your water is if you don't have water. Not just because you have to do boil water. If I have a car today, I would have gone and got the water because I get so many complaints about it. And some residents, they're not able, they're disabled, they're not able to boil water, or they're not able to get water. And this is what the city should be step in. I hope next time, or maybe we should have a plan here for an emergency and how we're supposed to handle things. But again, Mike, I want to go out of my way to thank you for everything you've done, because I know you haven't slept the last couple days. You and your staff and Ada, I appreciate everything that you guys did.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you very much.
I have a couple questions. I know this was an unusual circumstance. I don't think it's ever happened to the city like this before for something like this. But I know we have signs that we put up for hydrant flushing. Do we have any like signs we could get made that would say for a boil order that we could put like at main streets on corners or whatever? This way when residents drive or whatever, they would see when they go into their subdivision or wherever that we're under a boil order. So hopefully we can do something like that for those that maybe don't go on social media or don't, have internet or whatever it may be, cable TV to see the meeting. If we could maybe look into that.
Absolutely.
And then I have another question. In the future, we're gonna be going to Lake Michigan water, and how would something like this affect us with Lake Michigan water?
It would affect us in the same way if we had a water main break.
Same thing?
Yes.
Wouldn't change anything?
Correct.
Now, I know we're gonna have where we have we gotta keep our well stations running, well pump, the pump stations and all that kind of stuff, and our water towers with water. And will that be, water towers, will they still have, the city well water in it, or will it be all Lake Michigan water then?
Let me walk back on that comment again, and Ron can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a certain amount of water that we're guaranteed from Lake Michigan water, so I'm not entirely 100% positive that we would have that situation even with a water main break, because we will still be getting water flowing from Lake Michigan. In answer to your other question, the water tanks will have Lake Michigan water in them. However, we will be exercising the pumps, and in a situation such as this, if it were to come to that, we could use our well water for that in the future, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Aren't there infrastructure improvements that are gonna be happening just to get the Michigan water? So won't that help prevent some of these issues going forward, hopefully?
Well, that is correct. I mean, they're gonna have a new water supply line, as Mike said, because we had a break somewhere. It'll affect the area where the break is, but we'll always have a supply coming into the city, which will come into our station, which is the main station at Oakland here in Caton Farm. And it'll go to our storage tank, and it'll be just pumped out, or in this case, it would just bypass the station, the tank, and just keep pumping into the city. It's not gonna affect the water main break part of it. That's still gonna happen from the opening and closing of the fire hydrants. In regards to how it affects us is we can lose up to 10% losses. That's where this would fall into. Now, if we had 1 year because of some fire like this that we went 11%, we can explain that way with the IPA. But we would have, we can't do that consistently. And it shouldn't happen consistently, because you shouldn't be having events like this on an annual basis. So, so as Mike said, we wouldn't have been necessarily affected on the water supply side, just the water main break side.
But to piggyback off of what you said, we're making infrastructure improvements on an annual basis on these old water mains.
Absolutely, yes. And for example, we're designing right now Inner Circle and Oakland Avenue to go out next year. It's the same age water main that Mike is dealing with. Everything was put in the 50s. So we're trying to upgrade that, the area in Ward 1. So yeah, you are correct.
Anybody else for Mike?
Do we have anything? Oh, go ahead.
I'd just like to make it perfectly clear that I'm not blaming anyone for any failure anywhere, but I'm the elected official in Ward 2, and that's my priority. And I don't want anybody to get it confused. They come first when it comes to me, and I ask questions about everything else that goes along with that. Thank you.
Do we have any safeguards in place for those of our population who are low income, to be able to get bottles of water in situations like this?
We can certainly do anything that the council wants us to do on that. There are ways to get bottled water to various places in the city if that's what we want to do.
Could we see about a contract for emergency water supply? I feel like something like that needs to be in place anyway for the purposes of the city.
I was told by the city administrator that when I asked him today, I was told no, because Will County emergency, correct me if I'm wrong, Will County emergency, they will only provide water if there's no water, I was told.
No flow. Okay.
Correct. As long there's water, and as long you can boil it, you are okay, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they, the reserve water that they got stored for emergencies are for when there's no water. And we don't want to show hurricane, but snowstorm, ice storm, and the nobody's got water, that's what they have their water for.
Okay.
I mean, they do have a filtration system that when the chief got a hold of them, they did talk to the schools if they wanted to have filtered water, the ones that were in the zone. They had devices that they could bring over to the schools. I think one of the schools did do that, right, Chief?
Richland School, yeah.
But you're right, this is an exercise, not a practical one that's on a tabletop. This is real life. So that's why we're gonna have a follow-up meeting. We're gonna do a post-critical incident debriefing. There'll be reports with that, and it's gonna show the strengths and weaknesses of what happened here. And if there's things that we need to bring back to the council that is policy, legislative-wise, we'll do that. If there's something with the budget, we'll have some recommendations in regards to that too. So this is a good start. Everybody's documenting. They were taking, I know the Public Works guys, I asked them to take some more photographs as much as they can, so we could definitely show insurance companies of the damage and the type of equipment that we're using. So we're gonna set a story together that we're gonna be able to bring back to you. We should be able to bring back to you too, how much water was actually used. As you can tell in his report, he was able to tell you 6,000 gallons a minute was being misted onto this fire. And that fire was 1,000 degrees. I think we're very grateful it wasn't the day before with the high winds. That would have been disastrous down there.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Moving on to our city engineer, Ron Wiedemann. Good evening, Ron.
Good evening. I don't have anything on the agenda, but if there's any questions by council.
Any questions, city engineer?
The question's gonna be to you and to Ed together, so I'm not sure what you wanted. It's the update on the stop sign that I did on, I asked, requested it once again on 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything from anybody.
Tony?
Yes, Ron has completed a report. We'll have an update for at the work session. Basically, at this point in time, he was able to, I won't take the words out of your mouth looking at the email, but at this point in time, it's not at that level that we're gonna be able to put a stop sign, but maybe there's other safety measures we could still put into place.
I'm totally confused in here. So I asked Ron, and Ron referred me to you, and you referred me to Ron. So we've been doing this for the last maybe 8 months now, and it's funny because one ward requested a cross point. We went out of our way, we spent taxpayer money to do research, but then yet you have hundreds of residents on Willow Falls and nobody wants to do anything. Correct? Am I wrong? Am I something I'm not reading wrong, or I'm not understanding?
No, I sent a response 2 weeks ago, immediately after the meeting.
But I was just told that it's not as important at this point.
But I didn't say that.
He just made a
I didn't
comment
say- I
that
didn't-
he's.
I didn't say it was
They don't-
important.
They don't
I
see
need-
it's the time. Did he
I
say
needed
that?
time to meet with him, you know, I'm gonna take the report on not just face value, I have questions too. And this last 2 weeks, we've been doing a lot of interviewing, we're coordinating other responsibilities, this is important.
No.
And we're gonna bring it to you, and we're gonna give you the results. But I wanna make sure that I understand the results too, to meet with Ron and the chief.
I see how things work here. We pick and choose who we're gonna help.
You know, pick and choose the priorities of what's needed in operations right now. And you guys have stated, you need these interim jobs filled. So we're out recruiting,
Well,
trying
then
to get that.
stop bringing me new ideas and stop bringing us new position and let's delete this and let's clear this and let's figure new positions and let's figure new way to do public works and let's figure, this is something that the resident requested for safety from 8 months ago. And for the record, there's another ward that requested something for the school and it was done within 2 weeks. I just want that for the record. So I guess we pick and choose what's important and what's not important. I get it. Willow Falls people, the one you're watching, I keep bringing this to the table. I know you're watching. Thank you so much.
Tony, did you say the conditions for that location indicate a stop sign is not warranted?
Correct.
Can you explain that a little bit more? What determines that?
Let me explain this.
That's more of a technical,
Yeah.
so I will refer it to the engineer.
All municipalities within the state need to follow state and federal guidelines. It's the law. Stop signs cannot be installed per the law to control speeding. You have to meet warrants in order to install a stop sign. This intersection will never meet
It's
warrants
not
to
for speed,
install a stop sign.
it's to cross.
It will not meet warrants.
It's to cross.
It will not meet warrants for the installation of a stop sign. There is not enough traffic at this intersection to warrant a stop sign per state statutes.
Is there anything at that location?
We
that
have a
might slow
crosswalk,
down
we have a
traffic?
crosswalk, and we have a flashing pedestrian sign that's there. That was installed 2.5 years ago, I believe. So that's what's governing the installation of the stop sign.
So why can't you say that to me a long time ago? Instead of saying we're looking into it.
I answered it immediately after the last meeting.
I was told last meeting that you guys were going to do the study. Correct, chief?
I
You
said I
were
was gonna
going to
talk
look
to,
into it.
I said I was gonna talk to Ron, and
Right.
of course, we said we would discuss it.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
I haven't heard anything and I'm asking for a report. Okay, let's move on.
Ron, I was just wondering, our entry welcome monument that's on Broadway, I don't know about the other ones, but the lights aren't working to shine on it?
No, the contractor's waiting for a breaker box that's
Oh.
required by ComEd, so he can physically tie it in. It's the same one on Weber too, it's the same issue. So it's just, he's waiting for it to come in. The one he originally ordered would not work, so he had to get a new one. So that's where we are on that. Otherwise, everything else is done on those, except for the connection of the permanent lights.
All right, thank you.
Otherwise, it looks lovely.
Anybody else? All right, thanks, Ron. Moving on to community development, Ron Metzner had the day off today, so I will handle his 2 agenda items. The first one, and we discussed both of these last Monday night at the work session, is the approval of a resolution approving a permit fee waiver request from Lockport Township Fire Protection District for its training and maintenance facility PUD project on Division Street in the city of Crest Hill. All the information is in the packet, and as I said, it was discussed last week at the work session. Motion will be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Albert, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin, for a resolution approving a permit fee waiver request from the Lockport Township Fire Protection District for its training and maintenance facility PUD project on Division Street in the city of Crest Hill. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Darrell Jefferson,
No.
Claudia Gazal,
Abstain.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Abstain.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Motion carries. It'll be resolution 1264.
And, Mr. Mayor, could I just correct the record? This
Yes.
was not discussed last week at the work session. This was discussed in a work session before I went on vacation in September, but I prepared these for Ron Menser, but there were some tweaks that apparently needed to be made, and it got brought back for today. I just
Okay.
want the record to be clear that
My
this was
apologies
not
for
on
that. I
last
thought-
week's
Oh, we had
work
We
session.
had a lot on that agenda last week. All right, next one for
I mean, it
community
was
development.
discussed, it was just
It was,
discussed in September, not last work session. I just wanted to make sure that the minutes are clear.
Agenda item number 11 is approve a resolution approving a professional fee agreement by and between the City of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois, and Lockport Township Fire Protection District. This was probably the same night that, back at the end of September, that Ron brought this before us, so motion would be in order.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, second by Alderman Albert, for a resolution approving a professional fee agreement by and between the City of Crest Hill, Will County, Illinois, and the Lockport Township Fire Protection District. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Claudia Gazal,
Abstain.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Abstain.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
And Darrell Jefferson.
No.
Motion carries. Resolution 1265.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to our police department. Our police chief, Ed Clark. Good evening, Ed.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I do not have a report this evening on the agenda, but I will entertain any questions.
Questions of the police chief?
Just a hats off, chief, to the police department for their patrol on Halloween. It was nice seeing them interact with the kids, so
Hey, I
appreciate that.
think they were probably as excited as the kids were.
Yeah, I think so. Those glow sticks were a hit.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Moving on to the mayor's report. First item is the approval of the Will County Governmental League Holiday Reception. This will be the same as in years past, where the city pays for the elected officials. If you want to bring a spouse or a guest, that cost is on the individual elected official. Motion would be in
So
order.
moved as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
No.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
No.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
And Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we did number 13, the business promotion. We'll move on to number 14, the appointment of Glenn Gerke as the finance director and budget officer. Salary of $145,000 and requesting concurrence by city council. So Glenn is here tonight. Let me tell you that we did have the interviews last week with Glenn. I will give you some of my thoughts in regards to that evening. Glenn has experience in municipal government. He is energetic, he's passionate. He was actually here twice last week for about a half a day each day, working with Erica and meeting some of the individuals here at City Hall. He is well-spoken, well-educated, and I think he'll be a good fit for the city of Crest Hill. He did go through the process with the interviews and everything else, so I would ask for a motion for concurrence to appoint Glenn Gerke as Finance Director and Budget Officer for the city of Crest Hill.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Gazal, for a resolution approving the appointment of Glenn Gerke as Finance Director and Budget Officer for the city of Crest Hill, effective November 6th, 2024, and with the initial salary of $145,000. Questions or comments?
I just hope it didn't scare you tonight. Okay. This is normal for us. It's government.
It puts a whole new spin on trial by
Yeah.
fire.
It was a great interview. I hope you keep this enthusiasm, and we look forward to work with you, and congratulations in advance.
Roll call, Chris.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
And yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal.
Yes.
And Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Are you in?
Resolution number?
That'll be approving it. Well, okay, resolution 1266.
Glenn, would you like to make any comments at the podium? Welcome to the city of Crest Hill.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for
bringing me on board. I am very excited about this position, and I'm looking forward to this. This was a great meeting, I thought. I thought there was a lot of interaction here, a lot of back and forth. Mike, I think you guys, sounds like you guys did an awesome job this weekend. Commend you guys for that stuff. And I love hearing the back and forth with Ron about, traffic signs and everything. We have the same issues in Manhattan, so I understand where you guys are all coming from, and everybody has, concerns that they're bringing up. I love that. And, this is great. So it's a great opportunity, and thank you very much for bringing me on board. So,
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, welcome.
Welcome, Glenn.
Okay, Mike, I should have, I should have done the appointment of Glenn first and then the resolution, correct? Congratulations. So we okay? Are we okay then, Mike, or should we, yes? Okay. All right, number 16 is the appointment of full-time building inspector position. We are going to discuss this candidate in executive session at the end of this meeting. Fair enough? Okay, that's it for, it for the mayor's report, just a couple items. I would like to advise all our residents that we'll be having our second annual City of Crest Hill Winterfest 2024 on November 30th, 2024, right here in this building. It's actually going to start at 3 o'clock with a holiday parade with Santa Claus in the parade. It's going to go throughout the city of Crest Hill like last year. Public Works is going to work in conjunction with the Crest Hill Lions Club for this holiday parade. We will end up back here at this, at City Hall at 4 o'clock. At that point in time, there will be pictures of Santa Claus. There'll be music. There'll be face painting. There'll be balloon artists. There'll be kids' games, kids' crafts, candy canes. The giant snow globe that was here last year will be here. That was a very popular event last year. There's going to be hot chocolate and coffee given out by Cafe de Casa, along with some of his pastries. And we're going to have cookies and coffee all night also. And everything is free, so it's a family-orientated family event. So please bring all of your children for all of the games that will be here. We're working on some vendors to be here also, like last year, to pass out some information for the family. So again, that'll be on November 30th, 2024, starting at 3 o'clock with the parade, and then going from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock here at City Hall. So anybody that would like to volunteer from City Council, please let me know for that day as we're starting to put everything together.
I have a question for you, Mayor. You have created a committee of events committee, and it had Nate Albert and Mark Sepidi. Nate Albert resigned. Is there a reason why you're not considering the appointed chairperson for this event? It seems like you're taking all this, you're going to Public Works, you're making all these decisions upon the city using taxpayer money, but I don't see you reaching out to the person that it was appointed to this committee.
The events committee did not take care of this last year. This was a Public Works event that put everything together. Alderman Sepidi is now the lone person, because I did ask if anybody wanted to be on the event committee with him, and nobody stepped forward. So he's going to be bringing forward to you at the end of this meeting the Christmas lights.
I did not
So
request,
he is
I'm
going
not
to be
talking about
taking care of
Christmas
that.
lights, and I'm not
This event
asking.
was taken care of by Public Works last year, and it's going to be the same this year. We got off to a late start with it. We have reached out for money from our vendors, donations from our vendors to offset some of the cost.
So you didn't answer my question?
I did answer your question.
No, why wouldn't you not ask the committee person
Because
to help you?
the events committee did not take care of the Winterfest last year. It was through the Public Works in conjunction with the Lions Club.
And we are, for the record, we know that Public Works is shorthanded, right?
Right, and Ada's been doing a tremendous job.
Of course she
Putting
is.
it all together down there, and I've been working with her for the
Correct.
last 3 weeks.
But you have not asked the council opinion or help either. Right now you're asking for volunteering.
If you'd like to volunteer, please let me know. Okay, the last thing
You
that I
have the
want to talk
Lions, so
about.
the Lions will help you.
The last thing
And
that I-
Claudia, that's exactly why I resigned from the committee, because I feel as though I'm not sure the role of the events committee. It was very confusing on all these events taking place within the city without there being any involvement from the events committee, so therefore, that's why I stepped away from.
I agree
This
with you,
committee
Nate.
that I don't know
It
what it
seems
does.
like we pick and choose what we're gonna do, what we're not gonna do.
Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about is Veterans Day. I certainly want to thank all of our veterans for their sacrifices that they made to serve their country and to serve this community and for the freedoms that we enjoy today. So that is on November 11th. I will be at Post 1080. Joliet always takes care of Veterans Day. Crest Hill takes care of Memorial Day. So I will be at Post 1080. Their event starts at 10 o'clock with the American Legion Band will be there, and there'll be guest speakers there. So if anybody would like to attend, it begins at 10 o'clock. That's it for the mayor. If there's any more questions, I'll try to answer. Moving on to our city clerk, Christine Richey Hall. Chris,
Good evening, and I have nothing to report tonight.
questions of city clerk?
I just wanna thank you for hosting an amazing shred day.
Oh, yes,
Good job on
thank you
that.
all of the officials that attended,
Shred day.
Tina, the mayor and his wife, Claudia, Scott and his wife, me, and our attorney, Mr. Stiff. We did an awesome job. Thank you for reminding me of this. When I talked to the gentleman, he believes we shredded probably about 3,000 pounds. So.
And
it was-
also,
Oh, Alex
Alex.
Zapian, the Lockport Township Supervisor. So, it was a fun event. Couple, trunk attacks, trunk lid attacks and box attacks but otherwise, we survived it.
I hit 4.
All right, thanks, Chris. Moving on to our city treasurer, Glenn Conklin. Good evening, Glenn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I seek your approval on our list of bills issued through November 4th, 2024, in the amount of $3,370,480.37.
So moved as presented.
Second.
A motion by Alderperson Olman, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin for a approval of the list of bills. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
And Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you all. The next, just informational, our regular and overtime payroll from October 7th, 2024 through the 20th of October, total $246,350.09. That's all I have for this evening, unless anyone has any questions.
Questions of the treasurer?
Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Glenn. Unfinished business, we have nothing. Anybody? New business, anybody? Committee liaison reports. We have a request from Alderman Sepiti for this on the agenda. I'll turn it
Yes,
over
thank
to
you,
Mark.
Mayor. Excuse me. This is in keeping with the years past where we've had a Christmas lights contest for the residents of Crest Hill to enter their houses that they so lovingly decorate every year. I'm just looking for an expenditure not to exceed $300 for the purchase of gift cards and that sort of thing as prizes for that event.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderman Dyke for expenditure not to exceed $300 for the Christmas lights contest 2024. Questions or comments?
I have a comment. In the past, we didn't vote on something like that, and we're using the same event. You're using event money. I don't see us voting on it. So why, if this is an event, why we're voting on this?
So I think this would be, I just make clarity that we'll reimburse for those expenses as you have just voted. In years previous, there have been donations sought for those gift certificates.
Now,
In
my
many years,
knowledge,
they
I
were,
was told by our previous finance director that, Nate, didn't you return receipt?
I don't know why this is an agenda item. It's part of the events committee, or events budget. So I want to, as a reimbursement over the last several years for the prizes.
in many years prior to that, it was
So when
sought.
they were used.
What's that?
So you just admit that we used them. We didn't vote on this before. Why are we voting? We're not voting for the mayor's event, for the Winterfest. I'm just for clarification. Are we gonna start voting on everything, or?
Well, you know, that's why I voted no to the municipal Christmas party thing. Why do we bring these things up every single year when it's the exact same thing?
Did we not make a discussion about the events thing that you wanted to make motions on it, everything? Did we not discuss that when things go on?
We discussed that, but we can't pick and choose what we're gonna vote on, what we're gonna vote on. So if it's a line under events, you know, then it's under events. Because I don't see that we're approving stuff for the Winterfest, so why we have to approve for the lighting?
Mike, does this need a motion or no?
Is the Winterfest budgeted?
There is money in the budget.
And that was done, I think, through community development, that had a line item for that. This was something that you requested, I believe, to have voted on if there's expenses out of that events committee.
So the Christmas lights is also budgeted.
Well,
I think in the past,
There is a line item in the budget for events.
correct.
How we define that
Oh, well then.
is probably up to the finance director or the treasurer.
Then if it's budgeted just as an events budget and you want it to come before you to be voted on for a specific expenditure, then yes, it should be voted on, but that's a council decision. I mean, if it's budgeted and you're gonna allow your events committee to spend it because it's budgeted without votes, but if you wanna see how it's being spent, then the council, I think, can direct that they wanna have it come before them for a vote for each expenditure within the events budget.
So.
But I think that's your decision.
I understand, so that means we can't pick and choose, so all
It
the
does.
expenditure for the Winterfest, we should vote on them then.
It does mean that you can pick and choose. You chose to have this voted on, therefore it's being voted on. It was also budgeted for the events out of a budget thing. It doesn't mean it needs to be voted on, whatever those expenses are. There is a budget item, and it wasn't, you voted on the budget. So yes, it's being picked and chosen as
Correct.
per your direction.
Not my direction.
Yes.
I guess the question is, does the council, as opposed to any individual on the council, does the council want all events expenditures that have been budgeted to come before you for a specific vote so you know how the money is being spent within that budget line item? If that's the council's wish, then that will be the, I guess, direction to the staff going forward when there is going to be an event that is going to have expenditures coming out of that budget item.
And my suggestion, for what it's worth, is no. You budget at your beginning of your year, you stay within your budget, you've done the job. You've allocated those monies, you get to see those expenses as they come through.
the way it used to be.
So you don't need approval to spend that money, that's what basically they're saying.
That is correct. However, I believe you had requested that those be brought to council.
I guess the confusion is, if the ask was for the expenses for all events be brought forth to council with specific dollar amounts, why is this $300 request come an agenda item that needs to be voted on if it's already in a budget line item already for under events? But the Winterfest event dollar amounts were not brought to this council, and that's certainly a bigger dollar amount than $300.
Certainly, I wouldn't suggest this to be ever a voted item.
Correct.
But the
That was my
ask
whole
again is
point.
going back to, but the council wanted to be informed of the dollar amounts for events
Agreed, yeah.
and where that money was being spent. Whether it's budgeted or not, still wanted to be a part of that, to be in the know, so to speak.
I know we had discussion about that. I don't know whether that was ever a clear adoption of the council's policy. I mean, I think if you have an events committee and you have a lump sum budgeted item for events, you can empower your events committee to spend that money, once it's budgeted, the way the committee sees fit, and you shouldn't have to bring it back to the council. If the council wants to be overseeing the events committee, then certainly that's your prerogative.
So, Mr. Attorney, you consider the shred day was an event, or what do you consider that? Because they came for us for a vote.
It did come before us for a vote.
That's what I'm saying. Do you consider that an event? Because it is an event.
Well, I think it came from the township as, do you want to partner with us? So I don't know that that was within your events budget or considered to be within your events budget, because it was not our
Okay.
sole event. It was a partnering event for which partial funds were paid.
So I understand the concerns of Alderwoman Gazelle, and that we do need to be informed and made aware of how money is being spent. But to kind of take it back, I'm happy to see this tradition continue. Once upon a time, I was a new homeowner and in the city of Crest Hill, and we had gotten all of our decorations out, and my husband decided, let's go for the contest. And I remember to this day, we took second place, and it was one of the most exciting things for a new homeowner. So I'm happy to see this tradition continue.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it had to be at least 10 years ago.
Oh, then it would have been me.
I think most of you were, there was a good portion of you that were there.
You want a motion, Mike? There is a motion and a second. Do you want a roll call or no?
I do it now. My question is, we have these events, but the event committee isn't involved in all the events, so how do we straighten that part out?
That's another meeting.
Yeah, that's what I stated earlier. You referenced the events committee, and the events committee doesn't really even exist because all these events that take place without committee input. So we're going back and forth on what we're trying to put on these agendas and this, that, and the other. The Will County Governmental League Christmas Party is something that is budgeted, that we do every year. The Municipal League Conference is something that's budgeted and we do every year, but for some reason, we put it on the agenda and we rehash it 1,000 times. I mean, we're spending more than $300 on you right now, Mike, talking about this agenda item. No offense.
None taken.
But it's a agenda item, so I think we should vote on it and move forward. But I think this is also another discussion topic that we should have in the future.
I totally think that this is a work session discussion that should be to streamline what is our events committee and what are they supposed to do.
Thank you.
I mean, I think that's a perfect work session discussion item where all of this can be discussed.
work
And
session
hopefully we
very
come
soon.
to a conclusion and maybe write it up into a policy.
Oh,
So,
I will
God, more
make one more
policy.
comment about that as far as the winter
We need a
event
policy
goes.
committee.
Back when I was the events committee, at the conception of that little winter thing, the events committee was never included. We were excluded from that from day one, just so you have reference.
And for the record, no city money was spent on the Winterfest last year because of the generous donations of many of our vendors. And I am confident that the same thing will happen this year,
so what's the date for Winterfest again?
November 30th.
So we
Are you
do,
gonna be an
so
elf?
we will have one more meeting before then?
Yes.
And you will have, hopefully, responses from
Yes.
the vendors that donated last year and any other vendors that have been approached
Yes.
this year for donations. So
Yes.
at an
And we're
upcoming
almost
meeting,
there.
there will be
We're
an
almost
idea
there.
of what the expenditure might be that is not going to be covered by donations. And I would suggest that that be seemingly the council's intent to have that on the agenda for a approval of whatever the difference would be
If
before.
needed.
That's not what I ever said.
If there's
but
not going to
okay.
be, I
They
mean,
twist
hopefully,
my words all the time, but okay.
hopefully the vendors will cover everything and there will be a net zero. But I think that should be at least reported unless there's going to be expenditure from that events budget. I would recommend that it come before the council, since that seems to be the council's intent, that those dollars don't get spent without
Fair
a
enough.
vote. So,
Roll call, Chris.
But I'd like to make a correction. We may have gotten donations to pay for the event, but the people at Public Works did get paid for working a shift or something, right?
Well, yeah, they have to
Or
work.
overtime or something, so it's not totally tax-free.
Don't you think that's good PR for this city to have a Winterfest and have
Oh,
our employees help us out?
I
Isn't
think
that
it's
what-
great.
Isn't that what every other community does?
We're not,
Darrell?
he's not saying that.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just wanted to clear up that
Correct.
we to separate the donations from the payroll part.
Roll call, Chris.
Darrell Jefferson,
Yes.
Claudia Gazal,
I'm confused, but yeah, I'll abstain on this one because we said we're not gonna vote on anything, but okay.
No, this is,
Tina
the-
You
Oberlin,
have my
Yes.
support.
Mark Sepiti,
Abstain.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Methvin.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
Okay. City council comments? Anything anybody would like to share with anybody?
I just wanted to add to that last item regarding the Christmas lights contest, just to let the residents know that more information will be coming out shortly regarding the contest as far as entry forms, important dates to know, and that sort of thing. So stay tuned. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, council comments. We'll begin with Alderman Kubal.
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Albert.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Alderman Spitty.
Nothing to add.
Alderperson Oberlin.
Well, I want to salute all our veterans out there and heartfelt gratitude to all our deceased veterans and their families for everything they've given to our country. So if you see a veteran, shake their hand, give them a hug, whatever. They've made this country what it is.
Alderwoman Gazal.
Just want to thank the Seagulls family for them to offer once again to donate the pumpkins for Halloween. At this time, we were away from everyone.
You what?
Thank you so much. I just want to thank the Seagulls, I said, for their donation or for them to offer once again this year the pumpkins.
Alderman Jefferson.
nothing.
Alderwoman Methvin.
I just want to reach out to all the constituents of Ward 1. Please bear with us during this boil order. Hopefully it will be resolved soon. Most importantly, should be for the immune-compromised, the very young and the very old, would be the most important to make sure that this water is boiled.
Alderman Dyke.
Yeah, just want to wish all our veterans a solemn but yet happy Veterans Day. Hopefully, everyone not only thanks them that day, but throughout the year. Anytime during the year you see a vet, make sure you thank them. It's just not that one day. It's every day we should be thanking them. So thanks to all the vets, and don't forget to vote.
Oh, yes.
Good thing, Scott.
Good things, Scott.
Tomorrow.
Vote tomorrow.
All right, public comment. Anybody want to address city council, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Your address is optional. Linda?
Linda Dyke, 1700 Kelly. Regarding this boil order, I just wonder why, like here in City Hall, there couldn't have been like a press conference of some type. Mike gave an excellent explanation tonight, but I think there's a lot of questions that could have been answered earlier to the residents. And there's something called Dial My Calls. It's about 3 cents a call. They're not emergency calls. That you can put the residents' phone numbers in, tape a message, and send it out. We use that at the church. It's really nice. And then I was attacked by Mr. Tony Halaska, who's an employee of the city of Crest Hill. He says that the alderman, where's it at here? I put it by order seats. Like Scott, should he have called a press conference? According to him, yeah. That the alder people need to take ownership of what happened. Well, how do they know what happened if they weren't informed? I don't think anybody knew about this big water main breakdown by the city that they're working on. So where he comes off saying all these things about their city officials, don't they employ him? I'm just concerned about this email. And then another thing here, when someone's hired by the city, are they all tested by the civil service for these lists that are out here in the hallway? Because last week I checked and there's a new employee and her name's not on the list. I just wondered, do all employees have to be civil service tested? And are those tests FOIA-able? That's all I think.
Okay. Thanks for your comments. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Margaret Yankee, Sweetbriar Avenue. I just want to comment on some of the communication issues that I feel like have stemmed from the issues this weekend. I feel like within our own household, even though I've signed up for the alert system, one of our household members did receive the alert and I did not. Going to the City of Crest Hill page and looking for the alert on the very top of the site, when you find it on the mobile site, there is a large red dot that says alert. When you click on the large red dot that says alert, the Alert Center has alerts from City Hall dated August 31st, 2020 for the City Hall closed Labor Day, and new online payment options dated March 13th of 2018. So if I wanted to find alerts at the ready at the City of Crest Hill website, neither of those are very relevant to the issue. At the very bottom of that list, there is a water main break alert section, and there are 0 alerts listed. There are currently no alerts for this category. So, just being able to find information at the ready looks like the only place that that information is along the banner, the picture banner, Crest Hill Popular Topics. So I just feel like when we're talking about residents who have access to this information and where they would find that readily and be able to access information, even if they are not tech savvy, I think alert with a giant red dot is the thing that they would be able to click on. And there is not any information regarding this particular incident at that. And then, just being able to find information, from the city about the affected wards and the areas. And I, did happen to see this, on social media, but I think in a time where social media is very divisive, especially in the current political climate, it is something that people go to less and less for their news. And it should not be the only place that we are able to find information and access to, current and up-to-date information. So, in terms of, the cityofcresthill.com and who is in charge of keeping that website up-to-date and available, I think there are a lot of other ways that citizens should be able to access that information, and it is not readily accessible there.
Did you say you did sign up for the emergency alerts?
I did sign
When
up for
was
the
that?
emergency alerts. I've been signed up for the emergency alerts. I did not receive the emergency alerts
Did you get
on
any
Saturday.
since you signed up?
Since I've signed up? No, I think we determined tonight that there was not updates sent out to residents.
Something's wrong then.
Was there an update sent to residents after Saturday morning?
Only one on the alert.
Only one.
Only one.
Only one.
But if you're on the alerts, you'll get periodic from other munis,
Yeah.
We didn't.
We're not getting anything.
My household did not get them either.
No, did not receive alerts. And so, I think to speak to, some of the things tonight, like having additional alerts that every day that we are still in the midst of this boil order, to clarify, would be very prudent for citizens who are not able to access information readily on the internet, at the City of Crest Hill site. Not on social media, not on Instagram, not on Facebook, not on TikTok, not on any of those, other platforms. I want to go to the official website and be able to find information readily accessible at the very top of this, web browser. And whether you're looking at it on your phone in a mobile version or whether you're looking at it online, when you go to the alert site, you do not see anything under the water main breaks. And I think that that's really a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Stuart Slifer, 21526 Great Wing. First, as a resident, I'm not affected by this boil order, but as a resident, I want to thank the Public Works Department and the director and his assistant, whatever her title is, for all of the work that they've done over the weekend. I think that the outcome of this is, and I hope that you guys are going to take something and learn from what happened here. It sounds like it's something that's going to happen, is that this falls on your plate, Ray. This city has a lack of policies and procedures, okay? There was no communication on this, okay? 3 days, I was out of town and I saw the first part of it from a news helicopter, okay? When I came into town this evening, all right, I came in on 30 from 55, went all the way down 30, swung around, came north up Weber, swung around, went across on Gaylord, okay? There is not one notice, I think Alderman Gazelle brought it up, that there was not one sign placed that there's a boil order in the city. There is zero communications. I don't know what the city, it's almost like you do the least amount of work that you have to do to notify people. Facebook is not the place to notify. You are correct. The website would be the place that any resident would go to, and it's not up to date and not accurate. Okay? I don't know what's on the Channel 6 scroll, if that is even working anymore. Okay? But this is on your plate, okay, with a lack of communication and a lack of policies of how these things happen. Okay? And it's not just this, it's everything for the past, I didn't even tell you how long. The incident that came around when you were trying to put together a street dedication that fell apart, there was just put a policy in place, okay? Other people suffer because you don't have a policy in place, right? There's nobody to blame here except you because you're the one sitting in the middle to put that in place, okay? I hope at the outcome of this that you do have policies for everything that's starting to come into play from this moving forward. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It was on the website. There were several emails that were sent out, Facebook, everything else. How many, Mike? At least over a half a dozen over the last 3 days. More than that were sent out. So, all right, there is a need for an executive session, correct, Mike, for
There
2C11
is,
and 2C1?
2C11 litigation and 2C1 appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body.
So moved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderwoman Methvin for an executive session for 2C11 and 2C1. Roll call, Chris?
Claudia Gazal,
Yes.
Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti,
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal,
Yes.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Medlin,
Yes.
and Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, we'll be going into executive session at 9:03 PM. Ma'am? All right, we are back in, or I ask for a motion to go back into
So
regular
moved.
session.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by Alderman Jefferson to go back into regular session. Roll call, please, Chris.
Nate Albert,
Yes.
Joe Kubal. Yes. Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Medlin,
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
And Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
All right, we're back in regular session at 10:09 PM to the city attorney. Mike, is there any action needed to be taken coming out of executive session?
There is no action, but we do have an item on the agenda, which is number 16, appointment of full-time building inspector position. My recommendation is that that be tabled
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson.
till the 18th of November.
Motion by Alderperson Oberlin, seconded by
Nate.
Alderman Albert. Questions or comments to the motion? Roll call.
Scott Dyke,
Yes.
Jennifer Medlin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Tina Oberlin.
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal. Motion carries, thank you.
I'd ask for a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dyke, seconded by Alderman Albert for an adjournment. Roll call, please.
Did you have,
I'm sorry, that was
did you have a question?
Alderman Dyke. And who?
Nate Albert.
Thank you. Tina Oberlin,
Yes.
Mark Sepiti.
Yes.
Nate Albert.
Yes.
Joe Kubal. Yes. Scott Dyke.
Yes.
Jennifer Medlin.
Yes.
Darrell Jefferson.
Yes.
Claudia Gazal.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 10:11 PM. Thank you. Good evening.